Thank you, Chair. Sort of three observation-type questions. On the first one, in the week that the IPCC report came out, then a shift from 25% to 30% funding specifically for climate change makes a lot of sense. Why not higher than 30%? I mean, why 30%? And then to be devil's advocate, given the argument around the need for mainstreaming, isn't there an argument for going the opposite way? So in a way, the more money that's available for climate change in the LIFE programme, albeit relatively small, but as the budget increases, doesn't that undermine the argument about mainstreaming? And couldn't you make the case that actually the amount of money should reduce? So I realise it's a devil's advocate question, but I'm curious how you would answer that. Secondly and thirdly, both Brexit linked, I'm sorry for raising Brexit. Is a disproportionate amount of LIFE funding currently spent in the UK? And therefore, when we leave, what happens about that gap, so to speak? And linked to that, the third point, with the UK outside of the EU, are there any plans for a kind of working link above and beyond Brexit, where we can continue to learn from each other? So if there's good projects in the EU, then they can be mimicked, copied in the UK, and vice versa. Thanks.
We have to vote on our own report. Paul Brennan had a few questions on mainstreaming. I think the Commission already answered that in a way. The purposes of LIFE is to have a catalyst function, and I think that is a very important one. Mainstreaming is crucial, and I'm, for instance, a strong supporter of the no net loss principle in the field of biodiversity. I believe that spending in both agriculture and cohesion should have no negative effect on biodiversity, no net loss. That is an extreme way of mainstreaming, and I think that should be the basis of European spending and public spending in general. I'm afraid we're not that far yet, but that would certainly be my intention. But given the political reality, I'm afraid there is still a strong role for a budget line as LIFE, because the mainstreaming most probably might end up not as successful as we might wish. The Commission already answered Paul's question on whether the UK in the future, after Brexit, might be eligible. I would like to refer him to Article 11 that talks about eligible entities, and it clearly said that a third country associated to the program is eligible. So it all depends on the way the Brexit finds its form. In a very hard Brexit, I can imagine that there is no association to the program anymore from the side of the UK, and in that case they will not be eligible anymore. So again, a very important element in the whole Brexit debate. Please stay associated to the EU in one way or another, because then the UK can also benefit from this LIFE program.